Hi everybody, my name is Cindy James. Welcome to my Encaustic Art Studio. Today I'm going to show you how to paint a series of 3 miniature birch tree paintings. It was a very long video, so I did break it into 3 parts. The first is the background, the second is the birch tree portion, and the third is an oil rub and just finishing the paintings. So I hope it's helpful to you. I hope you enjoy it. And please reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer if I can. Thanks very much. Okay, the last step I want to show you is an oil rub over the surface of these paintings. So I'm going to use gold. I like the metallics. This is R&F Pigment Stick Ancient Gold, and this is the blending stick, which is basically a pigment stick without any color to it. And I did this yesterday, so I have a little bit left here. I basically mixed some green paint with gold in hopes of getting a greeny type of gold. Yeah, it's not really all that green, but maybe a little bit of a tinge. So as far as the pigment stick goes, it does get a skin on it, so you have to peel it back. And usually I just use the palette knife to cut off a sliver, and I put it on this saran wrap so I can wrap it up after and basically reuse it, because it's very expensive product. This one I wrap up in saran wrap as well because it was stuck to the inside of the tube that it came in, but so I just wrap it up. But it does self-seal, and I'm going to use the blending stick to help rub off the excess. There's a little bit of blending stick there as well. So basically just mix up whatever color you like. The skin on these, like I say, this one's not bad. It may have been peeled off yesterday, but it can be quite thick, so don't be surprised if you have to peel off a layer that's sort of dried out. But you just want to rub it into the surface and get it into the different marks and crevices. I'm going to try to pick up a little bit of the green from yesterday, but so this is oil paint. It's oil paint mixed with wax. It's not encaustic. It's kind of a cold wax, I guess. Although this doesn't have any solvent in it. Some of the cold wax formulas have solvent, and the R&F pigment sticks are just wax and oil paint. You can buy different brands of oil sticks, and I have used those as well. In fact, I do have one that's a different brand, and it's what I used on that demo painting, or the example I showed at the beginning, and it's a lot chunkier than this. This is very, very buttery. It's like soft butter. The other one was quite old, and it left a lot of chunks of oil stick, which I kind of liked. It was sort of more dried up, but I was okay with that. I liked the effect that it gave. So I have that, but I do also like this R&F pigment stick as well. I guess what I want you to remember though is, even though we're going to fuse it, it will take time for the oil to dry on the surface of the painting. And so be prepared for this to be, I guess, wet for some time, however long it might take for the oil to cure and dry. Especially if you have some really deep lines here, like these ones. Depends how much oil stick gets in there, because it will have to dry from the top down. Okay. I mean, you can leave those sort of just dark, but I've been trying to work the pigment stick down in there. All right. So I'm gonna I can hear the kids Halloweening out there, trick-or-treating. We haven't really had hardly any kids in the last few years, so we quit giving out candy. My husband's diabetic, so it's not all that good to have it around. And I think like last year we had maybe 10 kids. The year before we might have had 5. Most of the neighborhood is in the teenager realm now. When we moved here, there was lots more younger kids. Oh, actually, I'll leave that open. I'm going to use the blending stick in a minute. So take a piece of paper towel and rub off the excess. Now, you can leave on as much as you want. It does give a really nice sheen, but I'm going to just take off as much as I can with this sort of first pass, fold things over and do it again. And this is partly also why you want your surface to be cold, because you don't want to scratch up your wax with the paper towel. And hopefully you can see how it picks up all the lines that were drawn. Yeah, that looks actually really, really nice. I mean, I like the look of oil rubs. They're just so messy. But now that I start using the saran wrap, it's not as bad, and I don't feel like I waste as much paint. Okay, so with this pigment stick, if you want to take a little bit more, remove some, you can rub this over the surface, this blending stick, and it'll take off a little bit more of the oil paint. Now, a lot of people use cooking oil. Before I tried using this, I used avocado oil, and those work really well, and it's a lot cheaper than using your pigment stick. These are so small, I'm just using my pigment stick, the blending medium. Okay, and that does take off a little bit more of the paint on the surface. Get around the edges. Oh, that actually looks really nice. You can do this with oil paint as well. You don't have to use the pigment stick. You don't have to use the R&F branded pigment stick. And I have actually tried this with the soluble wax paint, and it worked as well. I should do a video of that. I should make a list of the videos I need to do because I forget. Now, I didn't get any gold down in here. I'm gonna try to put a little bit back in there. Okay, that's better. I really like to get it into those marks on the trees as well. All right. Yeah, I really like these metallics. Now, I might have made these other lines a little too shallow. The oil rub isn't really staying in those lines as good as I would have hoped, but it's okay. So note to self, make those a bit deeper. Okay, I think that's about it for those. Let's see. Yeah, I like those. I like that quite a bit. It just gives it a nice sparkle too. All right, so I'm gonna wipe off my palette knife, and I always put these in a can with, like an old coffee can with some water until garbage day. I try to use my gloves as much as I can. Okay, so I'm gonna fold this up so I can reuse it. And I'm going to fuse these. Okay, so fusing will, you know, help set the RNF pigment stick a little bit, but it doesn't dry it. So like I say, you do have to wait for it to dry as oil paint would otherwise. I think the fusing helps it along somewhat from what I understand, but I'm not an oil painter, so I can't attest to that 100%. Okay, I'm gonna scrape the edges and take the tape off. So I do have a video on what I use to finish the edges, and this is gaffer's tape. So my dad is a picture framer, and he often uses framer's tape to wrap the edges of a painting before he might frame it, or even, you know, if it's not going to be framed, he'll use this tape. So that's how I started using it. I'll link the video below if you are interested. And yeah, it's just basically it's gaffer's tape, and it's used in the audio industry for taping cords, and it works great for just finishing the edges of the paintings. It's almost like hockey tape, maybe not quite as stretchy, but it has some flexibility to it. It's kind of a fabric type of finish. But I don't like painting the edges. I just spent all my time painting the painting, so I'm not really into the painting the edges. And also oftentimes there's a bit of glue from the tape, so I don't want to have to try to sand that off, because I worry that will stick to my encaustic wax. So I find this to be a good solution, and I like the look of it. And if I have to repaint it, or, you know, I can always take it off. Okay, so these are also 4x4-inch pine blocks, and my dad cuts them for me out of 2x6s, and I get him to notch all 4 sides because when I'm painting I often don't pay attention to which way I'm going, so this just makes it easy to hang. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with how these turned out. Let's see if I can show you. I think this is the plainest of the 3. It's got a really nice gold sheen over the surface, which I like. It's kind of sparkly, and I think this one is my favorite. But yeah, so that's how I do birch trees in encaustic wax. I hope that helps you incorporate these into your own paintings if you like to do birch trees. And okay, so I do have one tiny little tidbit to show you, something that I added after I was finished yesterday when I recorded the video. And what it is I just added some little gold sparkly bits on here, and I'll just show you quickly how I did that. Okay, I didn't do it on this one, so I could show you how I did that. And basically what I'm going to be using, foil transfer sheets. Now, you can also use something called deco foil, which is probably pretty much the same thing. This doesn't say it requires heat to transfer, but the surface does have to be warm. Yeah, I am new to Cricut, so I don't really know a lot about the foil yet, but there is heat transfer foil, which is not what that is. It just is foil transfer sheets, but it, like I say, it does seem to require the surface to be warm. Okay, so I have a piece of gold that's very well used, and this little tool has kind of little bulbs on each end. So really all I'm going to do is just make some tiny little marks with the end, and I'll probably use it's not all that warm. Give it a bit more heat. Okay, now that's a little bit warmer, so you can actually write with this. If you wanted to write something, you could make other marks. As you can see, I've used this quite a lot, and it really does work quite well. So I'm just basically pressing some random bits in there just for fun. I suppose I could probably even draw leaves or whatever, but I don't want to mess this up. And you can give this a quick fuse at the end. I don't know the lifespan of this deco foil or the foil transfer sheets. I'll have to let you know at a later date.